Google Slides is my #1 go-to for instruction, but also for student presentations. And so I want to show you right now the platform that I'm on is through my iPad and I'm screen sharing, but I want to show you this play button is the same that we would see on your own personal computer, and also this plus button would be where you would add different things. So we can take a look a little bit more as we're talking about how to actually create Google Slides in just a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and click to present on this device. But what I want to show you and what's super important for me when I begin a lesson and when I really look at a lesson myself is to go straight to the standards. So here you see a few 8th grade standards as we're looking at Earth and our solar system and objects in the solar system and how they affect Earth and Earth's moon. And so looking specifically at the standards, I always break them down using a CUD strategy. All right, what is it that students are expected to know? What do they need to understand? And then what are they expected to do with that standard? We start off our year with the 12 power words, and you will always, always, always look back at those 12 power words and you'll find them in every one of our standards, whether it's to compare and contrast or to explain. It's vital that you understand the 12 power words and what they're asking you to do. And also your students have got to have an understanding of what they're supposed to know, what they need to understand, and then most importantly, through that product that they're coming up with in the end, what they're supposed to do. And so I always, no matter what, start with the standard first. Google Slides is where I put all of the knowledge that I've taken in and I use it in my instruction so I don't forget anything. After I take a look at those standards, I break down the vocabulary, and one of my ways that I use vocabulary is through the outlet called Quizlet. So as you can see, I'll take those vocabulary words that the students are going to be using throughout the week and create a Quizlet for them to reinforce those words. The expectations just below with vocab you've seen in our segment called Google Docs, and so that is just a link to that Google Docs that lists every expectation, standards, and that way it's included and they can see it in Google Slides as well. I feel like it is super important because every student learns in a different way, and so I search diligently to find a video that's 3 minutes or less to capture a student's the visual side of them and also auditory that they can see. So from our standard, we were focusing on the tilt of the Earth's axis. Now for me, because I'm digging into this content and really wanting to understand it myself, and as you know this, then you want to present it in a powerful way, but also give students key facts and just chunk it the best that they can, and also encourage them as they're taking notes or use closed notes that they can fill in blanks. What I found is through Google Slides can actually give them incredible notes with a visual. This is beneficial for me because I'm sure that I don't ever forget anything, that I want to make sure that the student is learning. So it's a checklist for me, it's quick facts for them, and then it's also digital so they can refer back to this at any time that they need. These are straight from the standards and expectations of what the students are supposed to know, understand, and then if they're supposed to model it, which we'll be seeing different things of different segments that we do, then they are able to explain or compare and contrast depending on what the standard is requiring of. Really quickly, I just want to remind you that any way that you use these tools, your students can also use them. So for presentation, here's an example of during the COVID-19 time, one of my students, well, all of my students had to create an instrument, learn how to play it, and then present it. And so here's an example of one of my students, Colton, and a ukulele that he built from a kit and then painted. And so you can see here where he was able to upload those photos from his camera into a Google Slide. He has put a link in where he's tested and played his instrument. Right here, he uploaded the actual photo from Science Journal where he measured the pitch and hertz of his ukulele when he was playing the note E. And then what's really just incredible is he was able then to measure the frequency of different notes. So he has G, C, E, and A, and those measurements. From there, he was able to take specific vocabulary words and just help them come to life with the way that he played his instrument, and also use that as a demonstration here. So I just wanted to show you how he was able to link the playing with his instrument along with his vocabulary word, and use that as a presentation. Even though we weren't together in class, we were able to share those through Google Classroom. I just want to talk really quickly with you about how to create a Google slide. Once again, I always go through my email, specifically my .net, to these 9 squares for Google Apps, to the Google Drive. You can go straight to Google Slides, but I always go through to Google Drive, and from there I'll create something new and go to Google Slides. Now, it is important that I also let you know you can always upload a PowerPoint presentation and then convert it to a Google slide. You can open it up that way. You can also copy and paste from other presentations that you've created, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Once you open a new Google slide, it'll give you the opportunity, here's your toolbars, it'll give you the opportunity to choose a theme. And so we'll just really quickly choose a basic theme. And I want to show you a couple things with themes. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this particular theme for our title slide. And so I'm going to double click on the font and we'll call it Google Slides. And for our subtitle team, or within your students within their groups, it's perfect for collaboration. And I want to go ahead and we'll double click again on this title, Google Slides. And if you can just click right here, Untitled Presentation, it'll name it the same. And so a couple things I want to show you is automatically, if you'll go ahead and click share with whoever it is that you're wanting to share, a couple things can be done here. So I'm going to share this with Megan Whitaker in .net. And I want to make sure that I let her know that we're going to please work with me to edit. And what I want to do is make her permissions right here. I want to make sure that I allow her to be an editor with me. When I send something out to my students, I let them all be a viewer. And so that's different where you want to change that. So I let her be an editor. I also want to show you here where you can allow anyone who's an editor can change anything on here, and they can also share with other people. They can change permissions. Viewers can only, they can copy, they can download and print. So at any time with these Google Slides, you can always make a copy of someone's, most definitely, so that you don't mess up theirs if there are some things that you're using with it or need to change. So from here, we've added Ms. Whitaker, and if she joins on with us while we're doing this recording, we'll see her pop up with her icon, and then we'll also see her typing with us at the same exact time. So to add a new slide, here are some of the tools that you want to familiarize yourself with. This plus sign right here adds a new slide. Now the drop down arrow, anytime you see a drop down arrow in Google, you want to pay very close attention to it, because it allows you to have more options than just whatever that basic standard would be. So here are some more options of what we can use for the following slide. I'm going to click a blank slide just so that I have the opportunity to show you some different things that we can do. Up here again, what's are all of your tools. And so under file, we could all as well are these backgrounds. Anytime that you want to change your theme, here's where you can click and bring that theme back up. If you need to change it, if you want to put a transition between your slides, here's where you would do that, which again is similar for most of you who have used PowerPoint. So this would help you to add in those transitions. Of course, you can choose none, or you can choose in one of your slides, one that you're used to, and so you can slide that in. If you specifically wanted a text box to slide in, you can do that too. So there's motions. I will be honest with you, I don't really spend a ton of time using that just because there's so many that we're using. Here's those layouts once again, like what we saw. So I always encourage you to, anytime you see that arrow, that drop down arrow, click it and see what options they give you. Background is something that our students have really come accustomed to using. You can change the color of your background, but what a lot of them love to do is if they're presenting on a specific thing, what they love to do is to search and a lot of times fill their background with that image because it really brings to life whatever it is that they are discussing. And so once you find the image that you want to put on your background, you can go ahead and choose to make that your entire background, where sometimes you might just want a small image. This way you can choose that entire image as your background. And then again, if you wanted to insert your text box now to write some key facts and ideas about sea turtles, let's look really quickly as far as how to change your font. Right here, your drop down for fonts, the same as we were looking at for adding more fonts. If you ever want to, click that more font, and you can always go ahead and as you go through, just click check if you really like that specific font. Just go through, take a look at them, and you can just go over the top, overboard with fonts, but then you've added them to your collection. So there you have it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and type in some information about sea turtles, and we'll type in here with our font rock salt, let's say skip the straw, save the turtle. And once again, if I want to move this text box, when I see that cross signal on the blue, that will allow me, it actually is a compass. I can move it north, south, east, and west. I love Google because they give you these red lines to show you when you're centered vertically, when you're centered horizontally, and sometimes you can even get a great vertical and horizontal line to show you you're completely centered. To insert a video, I remind you that for your students, you really don't want to put in a video, and I always encourage them in their presentations to nothing really longer than 3 to 5 minutes, because you'll lose their attention, even though I know that this video is probably longer than 3 to 5 minutes. So I want to click on sea turtles, and let's just see what we can pull up through YouTube. You can always type in the URL if you know it, or you can go out and open up another window and most definitely search and put that into the URL. But let's just go ahead, and we see that this is dark blue around it. It's 4 minutes long. Generally, I would preview, and once you get it in, you can double click to select. And now we can stretch this full screen, or you can go ahead and you can preview it over here to the side. Go ahead, and what you may want to do is even put a good looking black background behind this, and insert a text box so that you encourage your students to click here to play this video on sea turtles. So I'll go ahead and take all right, I wanted to show you, okay, let's also center, show you how to center this, highlight it, and center it, make it look good. What we want to do now is go ahead and take a look at another presentation, another Google slide, and I want to show you how easy it is if you want to just copy. So here I am in another presentation. I'm going to click Command C, and I'm going to come back to this Google Slides that we're working on, and I'm going to click Command V, and right here what it says is either match the styles to this presentation, it can change it out, or keep the original. Let's just click match the style, and what it will do for you is just try its best to show that it looks the same format as everything else. So it made it that theme, which we originally chose, which was the white and turquoise, or white and mint. What I did really quickly was I just want you to show you how quick you can move Google Slides around. If you don't like the order that they're in, you can, let's just say we wanted that blank slide above it, you can move it right over here in this left column, and you can take that, you just go ahead and click on it, move it, and you'll see where that darker gold bar was to let you know where you're moving it to. So that is an incredible tool that we're using. The last thing I want to show you, so when you click and you see that that gold bar is around the slide, you know you're working on this particular slide. I want to show you how to insert a link. So we'll go ahead and let's say, you know what, we don't want to bother with having this particular, we don't want a blank slide, so we'll go back to layout and let's just change and get one that already has a text box in it. So we've gone ahead and added in a title for ourselves. So we can go ahead and click on that, and let's put in, click here to read more about sea turtles. Now I'm going to go in another tab and just research really quickly an article about sea turtles, and let's see what we can pull up. And so we can look at the World Wildlife on sea turtles. And so if I wanted to send my students specifically to a site where this would be really cool, so here's some facts about sea turtles, how they could adopt a sea turtle. They would be big time into this, how LED nets help sea turtles swim free. You most definitely could see the different turtles here, different types of sea turtles and why they matter. They would be all about this, their threats. So let's just say, okay, bingo, I'm loving this. All I'm gonna do is come up here and click, get the entire website. Command C to copy it. I'm gonna go back to that Google slide, double click so I get all of the text here, go back to insert and go to link, and I'm going to Control V to that link that we just copied out from the internet, and now it is hyperlinked, and we can send our students here to read this article, and so it's attached. And these are just a couple of quick, basic facts for you. The last thing is when you're sharing, whoever it is that you're sharing with, now that you have worked together, what you can do is go ahead and if you want to copy that link out, a couple things I would encourage you to do is change your settings. So from changing your settings, I generally change it to anyone with the link, and I change it to anyone with the link can view. That way I can send this out to parents, to students, no matter they can have access to this presentation. So we would just copy that link. You're done. To go ahead and insert it quickly into Google Classroom. Here's your classroom, and as you're creating it as it's part of classwork, you would just quickly go in, create, I generally would put this under material, but you could just add it right there. Your Google Slides, boom, it's up and ready for your students, and you can share it right there with them to have access to it. You most definitely at that point then could go through Remind, add it to a Google Doc, go from there. So all at one time it is out and live, and all of your people have access to it. So I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you enjoy Google Slides as much as I have.